Welcome guys to another Honda S2000 video. Today we are in my friend Alex's AP1 S2000, and I just included this S2000 in a three-way comparison video against a Mazda RX-8 and a BMW E36 M3. That video will be dropping on the channel soon, but since I swapped my 2022 BRZ with this S2000 for a week, and this is my last day with it, I figured I would cover the exceedingly popular topic of which car is better, or at least which car would I rather have and which one fits my needs. As most of you all know, I am no stranger to the S2000 platform. I owned a 2004 AP2 that I got 9+ years ago, and since then I had a brief stint with a bone stock 2002 AP1 and then another 2002 AP1 that I modified heavily for the track. I've also driven 30+ examples of various S2000s, so I guess you could say I've almost experienced it all when it comes to this platform. And since I just passed 9,000 miles on my brand new BRZ, I've had enough seat time in both cars as a daily driver, as a commuter, as well as on a racetrack. So I'm going to try and summarize my impressions of these two cars and how they compare to each other. So the thing with the S2000, and I think most of you all who have had any seat time in one probably already figured this out, it is the more fun to drive car at the limit compared to the BRZ or the GR86. The chassis of the S2000 is just more conducive to at the limit driving. With double wishbone suspension, a far more rev happy and motorsport feeling engine, and the best feeling 6-speed manual transmission in the world, the S2000 truly comes alive at a canyon road or on a racetrack. And to quantify that, I would say when driven above 70% of its limit, the car is a blast, and it is more enjoyable, in my opinion, than the BRZ or GR86. It turns into corners in a way that even a modified GR86, at least from my experience, just can't match. And the way you can drive the car with your fingertips and just control it just on the edge of adhesion is truly unlike any other car I've driven. That feeling of zero countersteer can be achieved in the S2000 so consistently and in such a pleasurable and controllable manner. And while you can achieve that in the BRZ and GR86, it doesn't do it in as sophisticated of a manner. It just feels a little bit more like a blunt instrument, if you will. And although the two platforms with a similar level of modification and similar tires do achieve very similar lap times on a racetrack, the S2000 will be more rewarding in the process. So if I had to quantify this, I would say that BRZ and GR86 offer about 80 to 85% of the driving thrills and driving pleasure of an S2000 when driven at 70% or above. This completely changes when you factor in how the two cars compare on a daily basis as a commuter. As you can probably tell right now, I'm just cruising along at 25 miles per hour in the S, and oh my goodness, it is a busy ride. Obviously this one is modified. It's on JRZ coilovers with a 16 kilogram front, 14 kilogram rear spring rate, spherical bushings all around, upgraded engine mounts. There's a lot of vibration, OS Geekin rear diff, gunshot-like sounds when turning at low speed. But look, I've driven many bone stock S2000s, AP1s and AP2s, and it's a very, very busy ride. And although I was able to tolerate it in my 20s, nowadays I just can't deal with it as a daily driver. There's just too much road noise and tire noise transmitted into the cabin, lots of squeaks and rattles in the interior, especially if you have a hardtop like this one. These mounting points just tend to develop squeaks and rattles that you can't really solve that easily. I mean, trust me, I've tried with my old S2000. The interior is super cramped. If you're above around 6'1", 6'2", you're definitely gonna want a bucket seat that's much lower than the stock seat. But if you do that, you still run into the issue of your knees hitting this non-adjustable steering wheel. Also, while the shifter is absolutely amazing when you're driving the car hard, when it's cold, it does feel a little bit clunky. It requires some heat before it starts giving you that smooth shifter action. In contrast, the new BRZ and GR86 is a far superior daily driver. It's so much quieter than an S2000, especially in terms of squeaks and rattles inside the interior. The stock suspension is nice and supple. It's soft without feeling overly soft. It's a really nice balance for daily driving as well as the occasional track day. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay are standard. You get the dual zone climate control as you hear this OS Geekin clunking around back there. And on top of that, the BRZ has so much more interior cargo space. If you fold down those rear seats, you get a pretty cavernous trunk for a two-door sports coupe. Even if you don't fold the rear seats down, the trunk is much bigger than the one you get in an S2000. And the cabin space is a lot more spacious as well. It fits taller drivers a lot more easily, assuming you don't have a short torso and long legs. As one of my buddies, Kevin, pointed out in his new GR86, the steering wheel in the GR86 and BRZ doesn't telescope out enough for people with his build. So when it comes to daily drivability, I would argue the BRZ and GR86 are at least twice as daily drivable in terms of comfort, tech, space, compared to the S2000. Say what you will about reliability of these two platforms, the new BRZ and GR86 is still a fairly untested platform. I just saw a few days ago there have been reports on the GR86 forums about several cases of engine failures due to an excessive amount of RTV sealant being used in the engine and actually clogging the oil pickup, which has resulted in catastrophic engine failure in quite a few cars, including tracked cars, with Toyota ultimately denying the warranty claim because of, get this, track use. But the problem is Toyota is the one that offers a free track day with the purchase of your GR86. So imagine this, you just bought your new GR86 after a 6+ month long wait. You might have even paid markup on it. The manufacturer gave you a free track day. You want to hone your driving skills, so you take it out, your engine blows up due to no fault of your own. So you take it to the dealership and they deny your warranty claim. How messed up is that? Anyway, that's a completely different topic, guys. But the point I'm trying to make here is, with the S2000, even though it's an older car, there are so many things you can do to improve the reliability of an already very reliable car. Obviously, you won't have a warranty, you'll be paying for parts and labor out of pocket, but what does this all boil down to for me? Well, essentially the BRZ and GR86 is a car that's 80 to 85% as fun as the S2000, but is at least twice as daily drivable. So depending on your use case, that 10 to 15% difference in driving pleasure really might not be worth it, especially if this car is your daily driver. And that's why my conclusion here is that I'm really happy with my decision to purchase my BRZ. It offers most of the thrills of the S2000, the classic front engine rear wheel drive dynamics, super playful and adjustable on throttle, not only on a racetrack, but the limits are low enough in stock form that you can have a lot of fun with it in the canyons. And in the 6 track days that I've done with the car since I bought it last December, I've driven it to and from the track, sometimes over 200 miles away with no issues. It is so much more comfortable than my old track S2000. So if you're someone who is sensitive to ride quality and NVH, or if you're a bigger person who doesn't really fit in a small little convertible like the S2000, the BRZ and GR86 just make a ton of sense. Now, when you factor in the purchase price of these two cars being fairly similar nowadays, you could argue that at least S2000s are continuing to appreciate. But if you don't treat your cars like an investment, there's still a very good case to be made for the BRZ and GR86, and that's why I don't regret my purchase one bit. After almost a week of driving this S2000, I can safely say I do want another one at some point, but not anytime soon. I think the only way I could justify another one is if I had the garage space and the funds to afford a dedicated weekend/track car, meaning a car that I pretty much will never commute in because honestly, I just can't do it anymore. So I hope this video helps put it into perspective for you guys still on the fence between paying a hefty sum for a 15 to 20-year-old Honda versus going out and buying a brand new BRZ or GR86. With that said, guys, I'm gonna fill this thing up with gas, get ready to get my trusty BRZ back. As always, if you enjoy these videos, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below on what you think of the S2000 versus the BRZ as an everyday car, as a weekend car, or even as a track car. As a side note, I am looking for more S2000s to review on my channel. I've even toyed with the idea of doing a separate ranking system for various S2000s. Different model years, different states of tune with different modifications. I've driven so many and I get so many questions all the time on, hey, what modifications should I do to mine? What model year do you recommend? So I figured I might as well just make a sort of mini series on it and talk about what my favorite mods and model years are for the various use cases out there. So if you do have an S2000 stock or modified, engine swapped in the Bay Area, please let me know. I'd love to review it. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.